And you know what? Hopefully we should be live, he says. We shall see. Welcome, 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 welcome. How are people? It's been a short while since I've done a YouTube stream, so I thought I would hop on here and see how things are going. Is everyone having a fun and exciting weekend? I'm just getting used to where all my buttons are again, so you will have to bear with while I adjust everything up a bit, because I have got to rejig my machine a little bit. That's all good. Right, excellent. Oh, well, yeah, apologies, I've not been live on here for a while. It's been rather busy. If you follow me on some of the other social medias, you'll see I've been fairly live on there, because most of what I've been doing is kind of running around over this area here, which I haven't quite got our YouTube camera set up over there yet. I do need to do one, and I will get it sorted. But yes. Me too, Alex. I'm recording a podcast tomorrow with Alex, which I'm kind of absolutely bricking it over, to be honest. But yes. Hopefully, if I ramble too much, please tell me. But yes. This is going to be a fairly short one, because I've spotted that Cody's going live at 4, and I won't crash over Cody, because I know I like to catch up with what Cody's up to, and everyone else does. So this will be a fairly short, sharp, sweet, simple one for today. But yes, what has happened? What is new? From our side, I suppose, from my side, so I've just been manic with work. Work has happened, but I do have some new shiny things here, over there, that involve these things. So that will be coming to a video soon, once I've caught up with a couple of the other videos, and I'm waiting for some more parts for it. It's an FX2. So, and it's not bad. It's probably quieter than the rack that I've got down underneath me at the moment. So, but power usage wise, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah, it's an FX2S. I'm just waiting for a few more bits to arrive for it. And it's kind of going to be one of those, let's have some fun with it, because they're not cheap, but they're not expensive, and they are interesting, which is why I've got it. I thought, again, at least demonstrating why it exists and why that sort of thing exists. That's the plan for that one. I've just been literally running around tidying up all the servers in here, because I've got servers everywhere still, and I've got Sophoses everywhere. Second rack is taking shape, and yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, this doesn't have GPU support, but it does have PCIe support. And I'm trying. Next thing I've got to get hold of is the unit. The unit I've got hold of is so full of 10 gig cards, it's ridiculous. So what I'm hoping to get hold of instead are some PCIe SSDs, and I'm going to see what I can turn it into for a bit of fun, bit of learning. Yeah, the bigger. I was genuinely amazed at how cheap that style system has got. I was a bit gutted. I missed out on a Dell Vertex that was very, very cheap and fully loaded, like ridiculously cheap, and I missed it by like 15 minutes on eBay. So yeah, I'm keeping my eyes peeled just to have some stuff to fun with. The Dell Yeah, the C6320 and is it 6420 is the new one. There again, it's hit and miss. It's one of those things where sometimes you can get a good bargain, sometimes you can't. So it's the normal keeping an eye on stuff, trying not to spend too much on the credit card because I'd nearly cleared it off and now I haven't. And trying not to buy too many bits for it because I've got enough servers here, but that actually enables me to make something a bit easier. So yes, much fun. Trying to at least help if people are looking at that sort of thing before they end up going down that road and then realizing that just to run it on idle with no, just to run the CMC in the back. Yeah, the chassis management controller, just with that idling, with no blades running, is like 80 watts. I mean, that is just the chassis running and the two switches inside it. So yeah, I've already seen. I think on my power meter, just on one PSU, I've seen over 400 watts, and that I think was just with two blades running. I've got 4 blades in it. One of them has a faulty network card, but I don't intend to use that. Blade's going to be parts anyway. Yeah, it literally, let's put it this way. It was a fully loaded, it had 3 blades. It had, I think, 16 or 20 hard disks in it. And it was 1,800 quid. It was ridiculously well spec'd. And you can't even normally get a chassis with a bit of maybe a 10 gig card in the back for that. That at the moment has got 32 gig per blade because that's all I've got spare in DDR4 because it didn't come with any. But I was actually genuinely surprised at how much DDR4 has come, ECC DDR4 has come down in price. It literally is like tumbled in price. But then I'm assuming it's because basically the 13th gen Dells and that would be the 9th gen HPs are starting to be pulled out of data centers now. So memory availability has gone up massively. I was genuinely actually amazed at how cheap 13th gen Dell servers are becoming. Yeah, I mean, I can pick up, that's got M630 blades in it, or FC630 blades. I can pick up a silver a pair of 4114 M640 blades for it, without any hard disks. I think with memory, but no hard disks, for about £300. So I could kit that out with a 14th gen set of servers for £900, which isn't bad. It's expensive for what that is, so to speak, for a lab server, but it's cheap if you were running that. If you were running that in production, you could upgrade your server to the next generation on. You could upgrade your blades and everything for not a lot of money. It's quite cost effective, surprisingly. Obviously, the issue with that style, the FX system versus the C blade system, I suppose it is storage. That relies on a storage cartridge or a storage node, and the storage nodes can only be addressed by a certain number. So that's one of the weak points of it. But I'm going to cover all of that in a video. Dell. That's why everything in here is a mixture of mostly Dell. We like Dell because I'm in the UK. So in the UK, Dell support, if I've ever had a problem, 4-hour pro support, I've been back up and running. If it's not by the end of the day, it's literally the next morning. And pricing, they're about right. Warranty, they're about right. Parts, they're everywhere. Lenovo, I've got a dead Lenovo over there that bricked itself by doing a BIOS update. The simple fact is, they just work. And that's, they say, my experience with Lenovo, I've had 2 bricked servers from Lenovo. because the BIOS updates didn't go on properly, and the fix is Lenovo have to send the motherboard out, and now they're well out of warranty. That's not going to happen. Now, it's not to say that that's not got better. I've built systems, I've built clusters with IBM nodes before, but for us, business-wise, we stick with Dell because we know them, we like them, and they work. I avoid, yeah, I'm going to say this. It's the problem. I'm presenting everything from a UK aspect and from a UK business aspect, because that's kind of what I like to try and bring across to people. Is I'm not, as much as I love doing home lab work, it's more a it's a test lab rather than a home lab for me. So yeah. But I also like to think of what goes on afterwards. So, HPE, now this is it. HPE servers are incredibly well engineered. So well engineered. The biggest problem with HP is it's firmware and updates and BIOS, because it's all behind a paywall, and it shouldn't be. Gen 8 stuff is now not behind a paywall, but Gen 9 stuff is. And I'm streaming to you now on a HP ProLiant. I've got a DL120 Gen 9 as my main workstation here. Once I've got a little bit of money built back up again, I'm gonna try and find a Dell Precision R7910. I've got my eye on a few, which is basically an R730 workstation. So, but that is the problem. When we finish with a server, I either want to bring it into the lab here, or we'll sell it, and I don't want to sell something that people can't update. And that's the problem. Every other mainstream manufacturer, I find, will allow you to update. I've got in here, I've got a dead Lenovo, which if someone can find me a cheap, I think it's an RD650 motherboard, I'll swap board out for it and get it alive again, and show people the RD range. It was a cheap server when it was new. It's just dead. And the problem is, the fix is, either I need to find someone who can flash the BIOS, or I've got to replace the motherboard on it. Fujitsu's, I've done a couple of videos on it. Fujitsu are kind of like they're the brand that everything's an option. They're kind of like the I'm trying to think which car manufacturer. It was literally would be. I mean, I class them as they aren't called, is Dacia or Dacia. They do the job of a server, but everything is an option. You buy a server. This is the thing. So if I bought an R250 from Dell, is it a RD650? It's 2U rack. But this is the thing. If I bought a R250 Dell with an 8-bay backplate, with an 8-bay chassis, and that, it would come with an 8-bay backplane, with a RAID controller that can run all 8 drives, and it would work. Everything would work, but if I wanted to add more in, I could. I've got an RX 1330, and that was the equivalent, effectively. It's an 8-bay chassis. It's got a 4-bay backplane, and it's got a 4-drive SAS card in it. And if I wanted to put an 8-bay backplane in it, it was an option. And then you had to option the card, and then you had to option everything in. And that's the big problem with Fujitsu. You can buy 3 servers, all the same model, and every single one will be completely different. And that is why they are absolutely loved by, like, public sector people, and some very, very big MSPs. Because what they'll do is they will go out and they will sell a company a Fujitsu server, and then 2 years down the line, when they need to expand that server, they sell them a new Fujitsu server that meets that specification, because they're basically saying, well, to upgrade it is going to cost you this. They're a license effectively, unfortunately, for public sector supporting companies to print money, as against all the other manufacturers that when you buy a server that's got 8 bays, it supports all 8 bays. They're kind of the sort of, not the entry level into the server market. There's nothing wrong with their actual servers. They run fine. I mean, I've got clusters of Fujitsus out on sites and they work fine. But on the flip side, they also have this aspect of they kind of feel a bit cheap. Like the other one is if I want to buy caddies for that specific server, they're £80 just for the hard drive caddy because they were specific to that chassis and nobody bought them because they bought the server with a couple of hard disks in the front brand new and that was how they lived. So yes, they work, they behave, but I wouldn't be supplying them to clients. I'd rather something that when a client comes back to me and says I needed to expand the storage array, no problem, disk. I need more memory. It's all there. That's the thing. I've got lying around some Supermicro stuff as well. I've not used Supermicro for a long time. I actually was speaking to a company in the UK, Server Factory, if anyone comes across them. Lovely company. I had a really good chat with them. They're a Supermicro dealer. And yeah, again, I was looking on eBay and I can pick up Supermicro blade servers for not a lot of money. And that's the problem. They are kind of, they're on par with, as it were, Dell and HP in terms of quality, in terms of the hardware, but again they're a bit less refined, hence why they are the more budget version of the Dells and the HPs, and I class them as kind of like the MikroTik of the server world. They come up with some really crazy server ideas. How can we fit 12 blades into a one-use chassis? Well, we'll do this. There we go, and it works. And it's like, yes, but who asked for that? Well, nobody. they're the server manufacturer that basically, I feel they are they come up with solutions in search of problems, and then when someone's like, aha, I can make that work for that, then they fit perfectly for that. But that seems to be the big sort of selling point with Supermicro. But other than that, I'm trying to think, that's about my server repertoire. I'm just looking at the collection, which I will do a quick video on later. Yeah, the critical aspect, and this is the same with anything. If you have a problem, I'll go back elsewhere. Was having a talk with people on framework laptops and explaining, because there was someone sent a message saying they're doing a business one and they're going out to business for framework laptops, and it was like, great, that's a great thing, but in the real world, if I can't get a laptop fixed the next day with pro support, then, and I've got clients screaming at me, and I can't explain to them that, sorry, we're not going to be able to fix your laptop for 6 to 8 weeks because we're waiting on parts, and the alternative fix is, well, we have to swap your laptop out for another model. Dell will do that for us. We've had Dell do that to us. If they can't get parts for a laptop on pro support, we've had them swap the entire laptop out. Framework, on the other hand, if I go on their website now, I know that their entire 12th generation of system is out of stock. So, and that's kind of like, well, what do you do then? Do you, trying to explain from a business aspect, there's the people that are saying, but you can hold stock of parts. It's like, I don't want to hold stock for parts. I don't want to be holding an entire laptop in case a hinge breaks. Yeah, that's the thing. When you explain to someone that the high-end Dell stuff has next business day support, and again, here in the UK, generally, it is next business day, and if they cannot fix it, we will end up with usually a swapped laptop. Now, while that goes kind of against the whole right to repair ethos and things like that, unfortunately, business, you have to take an approach of balance the ability to repair and be ethical with your recycling and enabling users to carry on working. It's that unfortunate balance that sometimes gets missed in with people who assume that because something is amazing and can do all this stuff and can be fixed easily is a great idea for everything. And it's to go back, I need to get it on a t-shirt, use case. It's all about use case. Trying to explain that to people is saying, look, whilst the idea is amazing, the product is good, if I sent a laptop, if I stocked a company and say, right, okay, 20 employees, you've all got framework laptops, and they're all subtly different in their setup. When someone's goes wrong, oh, sorry, I've snapped a port off. I've lost the bezel to my screen because I tried changing it and I put it down somewhere, and that sort of thing. Trying to deal with that versus here's a Dell, it's the same as this Dell, this Dell, and this Dell, and if it goes wrong, here's the hot swap. That's what you have to deal with. Yeah, exactly. How much if you are offline, if you do not have access, how much are you losing per hour? That's the frustrating thing, Richard. I love the idea of framework. I really do. The laptop is really, really good, and I'd love to rock one as well, but I can't justify it. It's a very expensive laptop for what it is. Fingers crossed, in the next week or two, I should be getting a new Dell Precision. And that is, again, that will be my work laptop. But if I could have got a framework, it would have been amazing. But for the same money, I can get a Dell Precision with next business day support, and all the options that I need on it are already on it. It's got all the plug-in sockets that I could need because it's a Precision, because it's a workstation, and it's cheaper than a lower spec framework. And by the time you've added in all the bits you want on a framework, it's a lot more expensive for what arguably is not a business laptop at that point. It's a hobbyist laptop, and that's the problem. That is in itself an issue. So, as I've said, I like the idea. I just cannot justify it. And if I turn up to a customer site as well, where we sell Dell laptops and Dell desktops too, with a framework, they're like, well, why aren't you using Dell? Why aren't you using the stuff that you sell to us? And that, again, you have to be able to stand your ground and say, well, actually, we do. And that's why I've got this one. I'd love one for up here. I could rock one for home or that sort of thing. But, yeah. Anyway. I'm just trying to think. Has anyone else had a fun and exciting week? Let's just... I'm trying to build up the hashtag Read Only Friday on TikTok, if anyone follows me over there. I nearly missed a Friday because I lost a day this week somehow, to try and avoid the Monday morning carnage. I have literally as well, and I'll say that I've literally just skimmed through the latest LTT video showing why that once again they've missed some hard disks failing, and now they're a bit sort of semi-stuck And it's also a very good demonstration of why products like Unraid are not ready for business. They just, obviously, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's, again, it's another interesting insight into why certain products are more suitable for business than others. Because when it goes wrong, you need the ability to fix stuff easily. And it appears that, yeah, they're having to deal with some fun there. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else quickly that has gone on. Whee! That's all okay. To quickly whiz over, well, it doesn't really matter now actually, because there's no there we go. There's no EA anymore. Ubiquity appear, and I'll say this, appear to be about to release a, not a new product range, I'll say a new Unify type, which is the Unify Express range. Now, hopefully, I mean, there's nothing going to be anything mentioned here, blah, 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 blah. What we are hoping for is something to replace this. There is, in the current firmware, well, current controller version, there is a UXG mentioned. So hopefully we will have a replacement for the USG3, which means very small networks will hopefully have a router that can do a gig. That's what all I'm asking from. It's not much to ask from Ubiquity, is it? Is a gig. And the other thing, obviously, with the CloudKey Enterprise launching, my suspicion is there will be a push from Ubiquity to down the UID path, because that is their way of drawing people away from hosted controllers such as Hostify or self-hosting, because obviously being a cloud key and being a Ubiquity console means that in theory this will integrate with UID. Therefore you will be able to use UID with obviously your standalone sites. So combining a CloudKey Enterprise with a UXG Pro or a UXG, I'm assuming we will start to see UID being pushed for the smaller sites, which is obviously, if you've never used it, that's Ubiquity's identity management system. I think they are not going to line up alongside, but they are trying to draw inspiration from the likes of Duo and Okta. So we shall see. But that is my suspicion. The other thing that is in there with the Unify Express product is I would expect to see the demise of the Amplify range. And then what we'll get from that is a Unify Express, which will be a targeted, I think, at the home, and trying to, I don't know if they will do a smaller version of the cloud console or that sort of thing, where it's designated for maybe 10 or 20 devices, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's my suspicion. Afternoon, Mike. Welcome. So yeah, my cynicism senses are tingling with Ubiquity. There's a lot coming down the path, and there's a lot coming down the track. We are let me go to the UK store a minute. Obviously, I'm in the UK store. Working well. Well done, Ubiquity. Waiting to get hold of an AI professional, because we've got our use case where one of them may be useful, so it justifies us getting one. I will be doing a 60-second rundown on the Dream router at some point, because I've got one back in stock that I need to set up, that's got to go to site, so therefore I'm going to get one of them and do a full review and a 60-second review. Now the platform's had time to mature a bit, rather than just a rundown on like what it is. I'm going to I will approach it from the why we use them, or why you wouldn't use them, for example. So thanks, Jason, appreciated. But yes, the laughable stuff that I don't know why they've included this in the UK store, because that's an American power outlet still. They haven't done a UK compatible power outlet yet. I would actually prefer to see this with an IEC 13 end on it, or 14. I can never remember which way around they were. More like a proper UPS than just somewhere to plug power cables in. That would actually be more beneficial. But at the same time, the question is always with PDUs, why would I want a Ubiquiti one? Versus an APC. It's that question. It's a I can get whole. I mean, it's an interesting solution, but at the same time, why would this? It's just a PDU. It's not even a backup. I mean, you can reset some outlets, so I can do that with the APC and have a battery backup. So, yeah. Exactly. Schneider the lot. I mean, all of up here is running off of 10-plus-year-old APCs that have just had regular battery changes, and they are behaving. I've got two faulty chassis. One of them I think I just need to take apart and hit the relays with a hammer, because I think they've just fused a bit together. The other one, the voltage regulator's gone in it, but it was only where it's probably been sat for so long that it's just degraded. But yeah. So that is currently all I've seen coming from Ubiquiti. Obviously, with the loss of EA, we've lost early access to certain things. I've got some very... It's not that we're going to stop using Ubiquiti or Unify. There are some indications to me that they're trying to lock in a lot of their clients. I'm not saying they're going to get rid of the standalone controller. I'm just going to say I think they're trying to make very, very good use cases why you wouldn't want a standalone controller anymore. My experience of CyberPower is very, very limited and out of date now, I would say. The last CyberPower stuff I saw was years and years and years ago, and it was very, very early in their sort of life, and it wasn't that great. Now, that's my experience. I can't tell you good or bad now. It's like my experience of Eaton. My experience of Eaton is limited to a single UPS, because that was all we could get for a site over in America. And my experience wasn't particularly great, because I'd come from APC network cards and network management cards, which were very, very easy to use and very, very refined, over to an Eaton management card, which was very, very clunky and very, very, like, it was almost as if it had been designed by a web guy in the 90s, and they'd never updated it. So, yes. I can't give a positive or a negative opinion on CyberPower, Mike, because generally we stick with APC because we like how they work, we know how they work. They are incredibly reliable for us. I've had one smart ups actually fail on site, and it got swapped out straight away, and that was a relay fusing. It's warm up here, excuse me a second. UI Care UI Care still exists. Let's go back to the store a second. It's in the EU, I know that, but we are kind of like the if I drop down, let's go to the Europe. Let's go to the French store for a laugh. So it does exist, it is here. So if you order from the EU store, you can order with UI Care and they will deliver to the UK. But again, the experience I've had with Ubiquity's RMA is good. It hasn't always been perfect. Generally, what tends to happen, we find, is we try and ship stuff back to them. We get it shipped. They send out a replacement, which is great. So we get replacement equipment in a very short period of time. And then we receive the faulty stuff back because customs either bounce it or it never makes it or they refuse delivery at the other end. So I've ended up, hence why I dismantled a G4 Bullet the other day that was dead, because it went out and it came back and was dead. My Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus with a faulty battery, again, shipped it out to be replaced, received the replacement, received my faulty one back, so I ripped the battery out of it and it's now in my lab. So I keep ending up with broken and scrap Unify bits that work, there's just a fault with them or I can fix them, because the RMA process is good, but sometimes it's a bit broken. So that's all I can really say on that. They're not that difficult to strip down. There's a couple of very good guides. I really should do one on this one. I did have the battery lying around somewhere. It's here somewhere. My battery hadn't swollen up. It just failed. And if someone can locate where they get the batteries from, they're pretty simple to swap out. The only thing you have to, that is really, really awkward, or not, it's not the nicest thing, is you have to peel off the front. I can't get to it easily. Let me just grab... Where are you? There you go. So, let me switch you guys back. So I've got, here's a normal one. On the Plus, obviously this is twice, like 3 times as wide. You have to peel this off, and it's not a nice feeling. And again, they've stopped doing just the normal one, which is a shame. These are really actually quite useful if you need to do some emergency work on a site, to get a controller back up. They're very, very useful, but they've gone by the by now. From Sophos, I'm just trying to think if we've had anything new and exciting come from Sophos. Not in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, being a Sophos partner, we get to see what's coming down the line a little bit. No reports of any updates. Waiting to see when early access for version 20 of SFOS drops into EA. Haven't seen any more other than a hint in some release notes saying something is coming in in SFOS 20, which means they are doing internal testing on it. They just haven't done external. I didn't even say, has it? They haven't alerted me to it. Let me have a quick look. Hold on, I'm just going around the Sophos partner site a second, which obviously I cannot show you for obvious reasons. No, I'm not seeing anything on MR3. There are some Wi-Fi 6 APs coming from Sophos, or 6E APs, I should say. But other than that, they are focusing on, if you use Sophos Central, they are focusing on improving Sophos Central. That is the big focus for Sophos at the moment. They're focusing on improving it generally with more features, and they're also focusing on adding some features for us like partners to make it easier for us to manage multiple sites. Let's have a look. Community. So it is. They hadn't informed us on that one yet. 19.5 MR3 is out. What have we got? 65 important reliability and stability and security fixes. Let's quickly, while we're here, let's blitz through that. Zoom in a bit on. Oh, too far. Come back. So, so it's out, but it's not being pushed yet. Sophos Zero Trust Gateway integration. I've not played with Zero Trust yet. I do need to. So let's have a look at the release notes, see if there's anything fun and entertaining. We've got 65 issues fixed. New SSD firmware for some of the XGS appliances. Akamai Secure Internet integration. And Cloudflare Magic WAN integration. So some interesting tools coming down from that, which would be good. Kind of a bit vague on the old release notes. Zero Trust Network Access. Again, one of those things that if you have a use for it, obviously if you're going into Zero Trust and you want everything to be linked straight back to your main site, that is something that is coming down the line to potentially, I believe, try and compete against stuff like Zscaler and obviously the Cloudflare tunnels. But it's not something we've had a great use for, because the problem we have with a lot of sites is we don't run many on-prem services. Most of our stuff runs into the cloud. So, yeah. Something that I will investigate at some point, but don't have much needs to investigate now. But in theory, and this is it, in theory, that should work on a home gateway as well. So I will see if I can get that working. I do have 2 XG650s loaded up and licensed with home now. I will be doing a quick run through on HA on those. SFP Plus on a one, well, you've got, hold on, let's bring that round and down. You, let's see. See if we can get focus in. Come on, focus. There we go. I mean, you've got obviously the choice of the XG450. You could, in theory, put a module into a 200 series or a 300 series. This is a Rev 1, I think. Yeah, so that's a 230 Rev 1. But you could put a flex module in with a 10 gig port in that. The only thing, obviously, is they're not the most efficient compared to a smaller unit, but then all the smaller units don't do any of that. The Rev 2s are better for the same reason that right, that's there. Again, a 310 Rev 2 is a bit more efficient. There's another thing that I got to do a video on, is the very rare secondary power supply for a 200 and 300 series, because nobody bought them, basically. So I managed to find someone selling some of those brand new. Yes, I saw your email the other day, Mike. Sorry, I didn't get a chance. They sent you a bloody 125 instead of a 135. My 135 is over on the shelf. Spin you around. So there's more of them over there. And see some of the collections. And there's the dead Lenovo for you, Jason. It's been sat there since it came back. But yes, spin you guys back around here. But that is pretty much what's been going on at the moment. Obviously, I'm going to be focusing on that area over there for the next couple of weeks. I mean, the 125, it should, and it should actually be able to, and this is where I have a use case, because the FX chassis that I've got here has got the 10 gig switches in the back. I now effectively I'm going to have a load of servers that can run at 10 gig, and I have an 8 pair of four port, effectively 10 gig switches. So to do speed, I've now got a very easy way to build a 10 gig speed test server. Yeah, the GUI is a little bit slow, but then I'll say this, the GUI is slow sometimes on a 450, and that's running Xeons. So yeah, there's the GUI is never the fastest for the XG, but then it's pulling data and passing logs. Mike's one of us amazing people that live over this side of the pond. Let's put that out of the way again. There we go. Right, I'm going to cut this one short sort of here, because I think Cody's probably already live. And unless I want to stream me watching Cody, which might be interesting. Yeah, the 136 is an XGS, I believe. So yeah, is it? Hold on, let me just look at that a second. I'm sure it's so. Yeah, but yeah, the XGS is a 136, the XG is a 135, and I don't know if we can get home on an XGS yet, and I haven't had one here that I can test with. So as soon as I get hold of one, I think the problem with the XGS range is their network cards, and they're AMD based. And I think they've done something where they've put the NIC PCI channels into basically a coprocessor. So we'll see. I think some others have tried it, but we'll see what we can do from there. But yes. Anyway, as ever, thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining. I will catch up with you soon. I've got videos to do. I've got so many that I need to get done. I'm going to try and get some done today to start doing. And you'll find me probably generally day to day on TikTok doing questions and answers and things like that, because it kind of keeps with me floating around all over the place. But yes, try and do this next week. Probably, I don't know, I think I've got a wedding next week to go to, but we'll see what goes on from there. But as ever, thank you ever so much, people, for joining me, and I will catch you all in the next one.